You just built or bought a new PC. Fantastic. That's only half the battle. That's the hardware side of the house. Now we're going to optimize the software inside of Windows 10. Things like engaging XMP inside of your BIOS menu. Things like locking down your privacy settings so Windows isn't selling your information to advertisers, which they're going to do anyway. Mapping new storage drives because they're not recognized and you can't use them. Updating the drivers for your graphics card and motherboard. Activating Windows legally. Turning off default Microsoft features that are a huge metaphorical nipple clamp like Cortana and OneDrive. Cleaning up and optimizing your taskbar because that thing is filthy and an eyesore. This is going to be a rather long video, however it is crammed packed full with good information and content. For easy navigation, I have put timestamps in the description which are also reflected on the timeline bar of the video so you can skip around as needed, but I recommend watching the entire video. Not only does it get my view minutes up so I feel like a big boy, but also everything that I mentioned in this video you're going to have to do with a new PC. I got some stuff written down on my cell phone. I've got some more in this leather-bound journal that I lifted off Nathan Drake. These are in no particular order. They all need to get done, so let's just jump right in. I'm not even going to run an intro. We don't have time for it. We need to optimize Windows. I'm assuming you're on Windows. This is a tutorial for Windows 10 or 11. Mostly 10. First of all, you need to activate Windows. You can actually use Windows for free, however, you're going to have a watermark on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, not to mention you cannot customize things like your desktop wallpaper, and there's also a lot of major patches and cumulative updates from Windows that you're not going to be able to install, and you cannot upgrade to Windows 11 down the road if you plan to. I do have a separate video linked in the description below on how to get a very cheap OEM factory legal copy of Windows 10 Pro and how to activate that. Awesome, now that we've activated Windows, I can go ahead and cross that off the list. Next up, NVIDIA GPU panel. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card or if you have an AMD graphics card, you're going to need to optimize it. You're going to go to the website of the manufacturer, NVIDIA or AMD, and install the latest drivers. If you're on the NVIDIA side of the house, you're team green like me, I would recommend getting the GeForce Experience. It is a very streamlined application that makes it very easy to get the latest and greatest drivers whenever new games are released. Once you have that installed, you are going to right-click on your desktop and go to NVIDIA Control Panel, and you are going to go through all of these settings. I do have a separate tutorial on NVIDIA Control Panel and how to optimize your display settings for your monitor. Now, one thing you definitely need to do is increase the frame rate, refresh rate, or hertz of your monitor. You could have a 240 hertz monitor that you spent 2 buffalo nickels, your kids' college fund, and your wife's rainy day money on, and it ain't going to do shit for you because you're stuck at 60 hertz because you just installed a new monitor. Right-click and go over here to display settings. Now, the only monitor that I have that is higher than 60 hertz is my primary monitor right in front of my suck hole. If I come down here to advanced display settings, you will see I'm at 164.9 hertz or 165 hertz. Out of the box, it'll be locked at 60. Go ahead and bump that up. Now, it is very likely that before you install your graphics drivers for your card, that you will only have this option for 60 hertz available. So another feature that will be unlocked when you install the NVIDIA control panel or whatever AMD has. In addition to changing the refresh rate of your monitor, you can also change the orientation. If you hit identify over here, it's showing a 1 on this monitor, a 2 on that one, and a 3 on the television off to my right there, which is my third monitor. So you know exactly which one's which, and you can drag and drop them exactly where you want. So for example, I have 2 monitors stacked on top of each other and then my TV up and to the right. So I have them aligned as such. And if you make any adjustments, you are going to hit apply over there. I'm not really in frame on that little circle, am I? There we go. Get me in there. Maybe zoom in on my suck hole. Just this. Oh, yes. That's beautiful. It's like a portrait. There it is. Oh, that's nice. That's professional looking. Cool. We did that. Cross it off the list. Next up, you're going to uninstall unwanted programs, otherwise known as bloatware. This is very prominent in pre-built PCs, so Dell's Alienware, HP Omen, etc. However, even Windows does this. They pack in a ton of programs that they either think you need or they just have sponsorship deals with. Not sponsorship. They have corporate partnerships with that they automatically have installed. For example, Spotify and Disney Plus. I'm never going to watch Disney Plus on my computer. I would do that in my living room with my tuchus planted in my couch staring at a TV. How are we going to uninstall these programs? Click on the Windows icon and click on this cog icon, which is going to be your settings. And as soon as this opens up, I'm actually going to right click and pin to taskbar and drag that all the way to the left over here. You know what? Let's clean up this taskbar real quick before we get to the bloatware. I know, I'm all over the place. I'm swerving the road. Watch out. Okay, this control panel makes me want to vomit. Weather over here, I don't need any of this stuff. It's constantly popping up with notifications about stocks and weather. Not to mention this is integrated with Microsoft Edge, which is not the browser we're going to be using. Alexa, stop. Why am I getting notifications for this shit right now? Do I need to unplug you? I'll do it. I'll swear to God I'll do it.
If this is a life-threatening situation, please dial emergency services directly from your phone.
It's going to be a life-threatening situation for you in a minute. Alexa, shut your suck hole. All right, so right-click on the weather over here. News and interest. Show icon and text? No thanks, turn off completely. Now over here with the notifications, we have Focus Assist on. I don't really want any Windows notifications, especially while you're mid-stream or making a YouTube video doing some screen capture and it pops up with your personal email address or maybe some personal information. Not to mention it's just disorienting period when you're trying to do a tutorial on Windows and you keep getting notifications about grandfather's kidney medication that needs a refill. Top right over here, which you can't see because my face is in the way, but if I move over there, you can. Manage notifications. Get notifications from apps and senders. No thanks, I don't want it. Then right-click the notifications icon, go to Focus Assist, turn that off. Next up, there's no reason on God's green earth to have this search bar down here because it does absolutely nothing. You can't just type while you're hovering over the desktop and have it search down here. You still need to click on it, which if you're going to do that, why have this big, ugly search bar taking up half your toolbar? Unnecessary. Right-click it. Under search over here, hidden. Gone. Because if you're going to type anything in, for example, a program that you're looking for or a command into Windows, you're just going to click on the Windows icon over here or tap the Windows button on your keyboard and then type in Chrome, for example, and it's right there for you. So you never really need to have that bar there. It's just taking up space. Cortana button over here. Oh, well, I disabled Cortana, so I definitely don't need to see the button for it. Disable that. Task view over here. I never utilize task view. I'm going to disable that. Wow, look how clean that is. Now, if you're one of those weirdos that doesn't want your taskbar on the bottom, if you go over here to taskbar settings by right-clicking anywhere in the taskbar, you can move that bad boy up to the top, over to the right. You're weird if you do, but you can. Uninstalling these programs. There's a couple of ways to do this. Let's click on the settings, which you've already pinned down here to our taskbar. You can click on apps over here. Cool, my personal email address up there. Send me some love letters. Apps over here. So you can uninstall applications this way by clicking on them and then clicking on uninstall. Or if you find them over here in Windows Start, you can right click on them, for example, Disney Plus, and click uninstall. And sometimes it'll do it directly from there, or other times it will pop you up into this window here. So Disney Plus, gone. Now, some programs that I would like to completely uninstall, like Cortana and Microsoft Edge, you simply cannot because they are Microsoft products baked into the operating system and they don't want you to get rid of them. Just like you can't delete Safari from an Apple iOS iPhone. You can set your default browser to like Chrome or something, but you're still going to have Safari on there. Now, if you ever see a program that you don't know what it is, Google it and it'll give you a breakdown. And if it's something nefarious or you simply... Are you fucking kidding me right now, dude? There we go. She won't be making no more noises for us. Because a lot of times when you install a program, it will install some sub-programs that you need, and a lot of times you don't, so it's good to Google everything and see if you need it or not. Groove Music over here, gone. I prefer to use Windows Media Player for video and music. Some video formats aren't supported with Windows Media Player, and you can just install what's called VLC Player. It's free on the Microsoft Store. Feedback Hub is one of those ones that's just for troubleshooting in Windows and customer support, which I'm not going to use. I'm also going to show you how to set your default applications for email and web browsing and stuff as well. I'm doing it all today. It's going to be a long video, but if I feel spicy, I'll put timestamps in the description for easy navigation. See what I mean? I didn't know what program this was, so I opened it up. I do love the teal outline because of my theme here, but this is just a way to pay. I don't know why I had a hard time spitting that one out. Today, Junior, to buy movies and rent shows and stuff. Come on now, get that out of my face, please. Gone. These are two more things I'd like to uninstall. People is a social hub, and Phone Link is a way to link an Android phone to your PC. Nothing that I would ever do. Solitaire. No, I don't have the brain power for it, sorry. So I'm actually going to uninstall this speed test over here because I actually have a built-in plugin in my Stream Deck that it runs a speed test and it's all done from the Stream Deck. You don't need that installed. Spotify is pre-installed, but I actually use Spotify. It's my music streaming platform of choice. It used to be Pandora back in the 80s. Tips over here. I've got a tip for you, Microsoft. Don't install these programs anymore. Voice recorder. If I need to do any voice recording, I'm going to use OBS, like the good Lord intended. Weather, gone, absolutely gone. I have a cell phone and an Alexa device 3 inches from my face, not 3 inches, that'd be like in front of me, on my desk if I need to know the weather or anything like that. Windows PC health check over here. Check this out. Oh, that's not what we wanted. Well, this is something else, though. I do recommend that you install the latest updates with Windows. That was actually on my list. We were going to get to that eventually anyway. PC health check over here. I'm going to uninstall this because your motherboard, no matter if you have MSI or Gigabyte, Asus ROG or whatever, you're going to have some kind of a program. For example, this has the Asus Armory over here, which is this bad boy right here. It's showing my CPU really balls to the wall. only touching 36 Celsius. This does everything that Windows PC Health Check does and more. I can check temperatures for all of my components, usages for my RAM, my CPU, even the temperature of my chipset, adjust fan curves. There's no reason for me to have this installed. Now, Xbox Console Companion, you can uninstall. Game Bar, you have to leave installed, and I'm going to show you how to disable it because it actually tries to constantly watch your gameplay, waiting for you to record it, and it can actually be a little bit strenuous on your PC, especially if you already have a screen capture software like OBS up. So we will disable that, but Console Companion over here, you can uninstall unless you are somebody that likes to use remote features of your Xbox. Maybe you leave your Xbox One or Series console on and you want to be able to run updates, message friends and stuff from the PC, then you might want to leave this installed. However, this is different than Xbox Game Pass for PC. So this is not the launcher where you're going to launch Game Pass games. So there really is no reason for me to have this, considering I always calm up with my friends in Discord anyway. There's no real reason for me to have that, and I can reinstall it later if maybe I have a friend that only has an Xbox and wants to play with me or something. Why is she sending me TikToks? I don't do short form video. I'm over here making a 70-minute long video on YouTube. That's pretty much everything that I wanted uninstalled. Now, if you come over here to default apps, now if you need to know how to get here from the settings, go to apps and then default apps. I do recommend using the mail application. It is convenient because you can have like an Outlook, a Gmail, a Yahoo, all under this one application over here. Kevin, go ahead and blur these out post editing. Maps over here, it's a 40-pound desktop. I'm not traveling with it. It ain't a laptop or a cell phone. There's no real reason for me to even have maps on here, but you can't uninstall it. Gonna leave it. Music player by default is Windows Groove, which we uninstalled. I like media player. Video player I set to Windows Media Player because it's what I've been using for like 15 years and it gets the job done. Tried and true classic, like the old you know what? Web browser over here. This is going to be Windows Edge by default, and they will prompt you several times while installing Chrome or Firefox that, hey, come back to us, please. Okay, I know I slapped you around, but I won't do it again. They will do it again. Take the kids and run. Install something like Google Chrome or actually Opera GX is a gamer-specific browser that actually seems to be pretty dope. I'm going to make a video on that. But I've been using Chrome for like 6-7 years now, and it's the shit, so we're going to use that. Cool, we can cross that off the list. Now that we've uninstalled applications we don't want, and we've set the default applications that we want to use for things like email and web browsing, go over here to Startup. This is a list of all the programs or applications that launch automatically when Windows starts up, and you can see how much impact it has on your PC. If it is something that is medium or high impact, it is going to make your startup time slower. Granted, if you have an SSD or NVMe, it's still going to boot very fast. But go through here, and if it's something that you want to launch manually because you don't use every single time you use your PC, for example, I don't always listen to Spotify. I never use Cortana, so that's turned off. However, things like your peripherals, your keyboard and mouse most likely have some kind of a software program like this Razer Synapse, my desk speakers, my Elgato Stream Deck and lights, my Go XLR mixer. These are all things that I absolutely want to start up with Windows. Next up, you want to do all of your updates for Windows. If it looks like it got brighter in here, you're not going crazy. I'm not going to gaslight you and say I didn't change my lighting. I turned on my overhead hair light. Go over here to the cog icon, which is settings, which remember you pin to the taskbar because it's much easier. Come over here to updates and security. It's giving me the option to upgrade to Windows 11. I'm going to make a separate video as to why I'm waiting on that upgrade, if you want to call it an upgrade. Click up here for check for updates, which I do like constantly, so there shouldn't really be anything, which there isn't. But the first time you start up your PC, there is going to be a slew of updates that you need to do. Now over here in Windows security, click on virus and threat protection. Run yourself a quick scan. You know what? Better yet, go over here to scan options. Run yourself a full scan. If you have an SSD or NVMe instead of a mechanical hard drive, it's going to be very fast. Now, granted, if it's a fresh install of Windows, you shouldn't have any viruses bogging down your system, but I've seen your guys' browser history and it's gross. You're going to get viruses. I will say that Windows Defender and its included plugins like its firewall and network protection are actually a solid enough network security to where you can run just that and not a third-party antivirus program such as AVG, Free, or Avast, or any of the other McAfee or any of those. And if you are going to install yourself a third-party antivirus program, I do recommend that you disable Windows Defender. You won't be able to fully uninstall it because it's part of Windows, it's baked in there, but you can fully disable it, and I recommend doing that because when you have two antivirus programs running in the background, they're miscommunicating with each other, they're trying to run scans at the same time, they're noticing each other as viruses. It's just a huge hoopla. Just disable one of them. God, this room looks so sick. Next up, install the programs that you are going to need. And this might take a while because a lot of these are rather large downloads. Plus, every single application you install, you're going to have to do that first time update. Then you're going to have to import all your settings, or some of them don't allow that. So you're basically going to be starting from square one, from ground one. I feel like you're looking up at my nostrils. Why don't you just look right down at me like that? I feel like I'm low riding though. All right, sick. So install all the programs that you need and configure them individually. In addition to your GPU drivers, in this case, NVIDIA GeForce Experience, I do also recommend that you go to the manufacturer website of your motherboard. In this case, we got a Asus ROG, or Republic of Gamers, BDB, Big Dick Board in this computer over here. And we need to install the latest drivers. That will require a restart in order to reflash the BIOS, the board. And I'm also going to pop into the BIOS menu. Obviously, I won't be able to screen capture, but I will be able to put a camera over my shoulder and show you my screen that way. A little third-person view of engaging XMP, which is a default overclock profile to make sure that you're getting your recommended RAM speeds. If you press Control-Shift-Escape, that is the hotkey for the task manager. I just learned that little trick recently. You know what I've been doing? What all you guys have probably been doing. Control-Alt-Delete, Task Manager. Blacked out my screen and everything. Yeah, it's so much faster. You just hit Control-Shift-Escape, boom. Also just found out you can hit Windows E and it pops up your File Explorer. That's cool, right? Anyway, Control-Shift-Escape. Come over here to the Performance tab. This will have all your components. Your CPU, which is currently only at 7%, and that's crazy because I'm screen recording at 1080p 60 here. That i9 ain't even breaking a sweat. It doesn't give you your temperature or anything. I will show you a separate way to get your CPU temperatures. If your motherboard application doesn't do it, you install this app right here. It's called Core Temp. Come on, sweetheart. Give me my screen back. It's called Core Temp. It's a very small file, about 4 megabytes, very light, not resource intensive at all. And as you can see, it has all my cores over here. And if I minimize it, they'll be stashed away over here in my tray, which is really cool. This is called the tray, by the way. This is the taskbar down here. And this is the application tray over here. But coming over here to memory, this is your RAM, or random access memory, your sticks of RAM. It is showing the correct capacity, 32 gigabytes, and that I have 2 of the 4 RAM slots taken. 4800 megahertz, that is the standard, the floor for DDR5 RAM, the industry standard. Just like when you install DDR4 RAM, they're always going to be 2133 megahertz until you engage XMP, which is a factory default overclocking profile built into most motherboard BIOSes that allow you to get the full recommended speeds out of your sticks. For example, the RAM that I have installed here is rated at 6200 megahertz. That's actually what they're clocked at out of the box. And I'm only getting 48, which is still very fast, but it's not 62. So we're going to engage XMP in the BIOS. And this is exactly like when we increased our refresh rate of our monitor. If you spent a dickload of money, I think that's the official term for it, on a high refresh rate monitor and lightning fast RAM, and then you don't engage XMP in the BIOS and you don't change your refresh rate in the Windows settings, you're basically paying for hardware that you're not using. It's like the people that buy a fast sports car and they never put the skinny pedal to the floor. You know what I mean? So we're going to go ahead and engage XMP overclocking profile for our RAM inside of the BIOS menu. Now, in order to get into the BIOS, you are going to spam either Escape or F2, at least for an Asus ROG motherboard. Now, if you have MSI or Gigabyte, it might be slightly different, but generally it's either Escape, F2, or F4 on startup, and it will pop you into the BIOS menu, which is basically the control panel for your motherboard. Load previous values? No. So it's thinking maybe there was an issue and that's why I'm launching into BIOS. Now, right now, my memory frequency, as you see, is 4800 megahertz, which is the industry standard. So whenever you install DDR5 RAM, it's going to be 4800 megahertz until you engage XMP. Now, this layout will look slightly different depending on your motherboard, if it's MSI, Gigabyte, Asus ROG, but they all have pretty much the same features. Now, over here in AI Tweaker, this is where you're going to engage XMP. And as you can see, currently the target DRAM frequency is 4800 megahertz. And this can be a little bit confusing on these newer boards that support DDR5. You actually have 3 different options instead of just XMP off and XMP on. You now have auto, manual, XMP 1 and 2. Auto is going to keep your DDR5 RAM locked at 48 or your DDR4 RAM locked at 2133. Manual is for advanced users and lets you enter 4 different parameters such as clock speeds, so you can dial in your RAM if you're trying to do some manual overclocking. XMP 1 is going to be the option for most people because because it is, I guess, quote unquote, the safest, as it is validated from ASUS. And it is the basic default XMP settings that we've seen with the previous generation of RAM, where it's adjusting 4 parameters in order to meet that XMP1 profile. And 2 over here is a little bit more aggressive and not validated. So what I recommend is just to try them both and choose the one that gets you the highest speed while still being stable. So these RAM sticks I have installed are rated at 6200 megahertz. As long as I'm hitting that stably with no crashes, I'm gonna leave that XMP engaged. So we're gonna start with XMP1 over here, as it is validated. Awesome, and as you can see, it recognizes that my sticks are supposed to be 6200 megahertz, and that is very fast. So I hope I can run it at that 6200 without any stability issues. And now, as you can see, it changed my target DRAM frequency to 6200 megahertz, and also down here, it is selected as 6200 megahertz, and you can boost this all the way up to like 6800. A 6200 is lightning fast. I'm not gonna push it. Now click on exit, save changes, and reset. And as you can see, these are all the changes that we made, and they're all related to us just turning XMP1 on. It's changing the voltage, the pre-time, the ACT time, the cast delay, latency timing, the basic 4 parameters of RAM that gets it up to that XMP profile. And now we're gonna see if our PC posts into Windows, and then also a good test is going to be when you run some benchmarks, because that is going to really flex your RAM. So benchmarking is a great way to test stability. Okay, we posted. Now if we hit Control Shift Escape, go to performance over here, our RAM is now showing 6200 megahertz, 2 of the 4 slots taken, 32 gigabytes. Now we're going to go ahead and map our storage drives. As of now, there is only one storage device being recognized by this PC, and that is the one that I installed the Windows operating system onto, which is funny because I have 4 storage devices. I have 3 M.2 NVMe's and 1 4TB SSD. Now, if I press E to open up File Explorer, another way to get to File Explorer, there's a couple methods here. Click on Windows and just type in File. Explorer, it's right there. Or if you click the start menu and click on documents, pictures, then you can basically, then this is the file explorer more or less. But click on this PC, and as you can see, it's only recognizing this 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, which is just going to be for my operating system as well as applications and programs. In fact, let's go ahead and name it that right now. Right click, go to rename, OS, and apps. Now it's still the C drive, but it's now called operating system and apps for easy navigation. Now, in order to get those other 3 drives visible, we need to map them. Anytime you install a new storage device, whether it's a mechanical hard drive, an SSD, an NVMe M.2 drive, it's not going to be recognized. Then you're going to be like, what the heck? What's going on? Right click on Windows Start. Don't left click, right click on it. Go over here to disk management. And as you can see, it automatically recognized 2 new storage devices. There should be a third one, but not to worry. Now it gives you a couple of options here to initialize and format the new storage. You have MBR, which is master boot record, and GPT, which is GUID partition table. GPT works with any storage device. However, it doesn't work with older versions of Windows, but if you're up to date with your Windows updates, you'll have no issues. MBR only works with storage devices 2 terabytes or smaller. So one of my devices is a 4 terabyte SSD for bulk storage. So I'm going to use GPT for all of them. This is the latest and greatest patch of Windows, so I'll have no issues. And click OK and make sure that both of these are checked. Now we're going to go ahead and make this full screen. That's bright. Wow. That monitor kicks out some lumens of brightness. So the other drive that wasn't recognized is already showing up in here, which is awesome. But these are unallocated, so it still won't show up in File Explorer, and you still won't be able to use it until we allocate it. Now this is my actual OS or C drive, and as you can see, it's got my Windows on there and a healthy recovery partition if I ever need to do an emergency recovery of Windows. But let's go ahead and right-click all these and click New Simple Volume. Click Next. Yep, that's the correct size. Don't mess with this. Now you can choose a specific lettering for these. So if you want like an X drive or a Z drive, you can do that. But I'm just going to have them go from C downward. Click Next. We are going to format this volume. If you do not format it, it will not be usable. I do recommend sticking with the default of NTFS unless you have a reason to use FAT. And then as for volume label, you can always right click and rename a drive later, so it doesn't really matter. But if you want to name this something in particular, you may enter it here, or you can simply delete this and leave it blank, and that works well. That's what I'm going to do. And then leave perform a quick format checked. If you do not, it's going to be a very lengthy process. And with a brand new hard drive or SSD, whatever, any storage drive, there's really no need to do a full format because there really is no data on there. And do not enable file and folder compression. Just don't do it. Next. Yes. Do it. Cool. And now as you can see, we have this drive over here, which is that 4 terabyte SSD, which we'll go ahead and rename bulk storage. I am the administrator. Thank you very much. Now we have a 2 terabyte NVMe. I believe it's a Samsung Evo drive. That's going to be used for modern games. Name it games. Cool. It's right there. And last but not least, we have this drive right here, which is a 1 terabyte Sabrent Rocket NVMe SSD. And this is going to be used for screen capture. So for example, this video I'm shooting right now, all this footage from OBS would be stored specifically on this one drive. So that way it's not sharing the read and write speed with my games or anything. It's on a separate drive. And it also just makes for easy navigation for me knowing that all my footage is over there. That's hot. We now have 4 storage drives in here. OS and apps, bulk storage, games, screen capture, lit. Now we're going to go ahead and make sure the game mode is engaged, but the Xbox game capture is turned off. In order to do this, go to the settings over here, go to the gaming tab, which is right here. Xbox game bar is going to be on by default. Turn this off because what this does is constantly watches your gameplay, kind of buffering, waiting for you to hit the record button. So it records a snapshot of the last 30 seconds of gameplay. Pretty resource intensive, especially if you already have like OBS or another screen capture service open. So off over here in captures. Background recording, turn this off. This won't matter if this is off. It's just saying, do you want to record your audio as well? Now over here in game mode, I do strongly recommend that you leave this on. It is on by default. And what this does is in Windows 10 or 11 PCs, it will basically minimize a lot of background applications, make sure the automatic updates are paused and don't pop up while you're playing, and overall just optimize your PC for the game that you're playing. Now we're going to disable the screen capture or overlays for Steam, Discord, and nvidia highlights, which is baked in with GeForce Experience. We'll start with GeForce Experience, which I have pinned down here to the taskbar. Any programs that I use frequently, I right click and pin them to the taskbar down there. Go over here to the open in-game overlay, click that bad boy, go to the settings cog right here. Go to highlights, turn this off. Let some games automatically capture screenshots and video recordings using shadow play. This can be convenient if you're trying to capture just kills from a game, objective captures, stuff like that. But if you're already recording with Streamlabs, you're having your entire gameplay captured. This is just doubling down. And when you have this, plus the Steam overlay, plus Discord screen capture, it can really bog down your system, even a high-end system. Go ahead and turn it off. Do I not have Steam on this PC? I don't. I haven't installed Steam yet. That's insane. As for Discord, you're going to click on the cog icon to go to the settings. Go over here to streamer mode. Turn that off. This is a really cool feature. They must have added this in a recent update because I do not remember this being there. Automatically enable or disable streamer mode when OBS or XSplit Broadcaster, which is another screen capture software, is open. So that's cool. It detects if OBS is already open and then it won't run streamer mode because like I mentioned, you're running double screen capture programs. That's pretty cool, but I'm still going to disable it. And if you are a live streamer or YouTuber that screen captures, I would recommend turning these on. Hide personal information, hide invite links. So when you're live streaming or recording a YouTube video and somebody sends you an invite, it doesn't pop up with their personal information and it just isn't disorienting, disables the sounds and all that other good stuff. Now over here in the Windows settings, you can set if you want the program to launch automatically. And if you do, I recommend that you start it minimized where it just stashes down here in the tray. Now over here in Steam to disable the overlay, yes, I know I don't have a lot of Steam games. I do have a lot of games in other launchers such as Epic and Xbox Game Pass, and also some just installed directly on my PC as well. Not this PC, she's brand new, obviously, that's why we're doing all these optimizations. Click on Steam in the top left over here, go to settings, go to broadcasting, make sure all these are unchecked, then go to in-game over here, enable the Steam overlay while in game, uncheck that. Now you won't be able to use the Steam frame per second counter or FPS counter. However, a lot of games have built-in FPS counters that you can turn on in the settings. And the Steam overlay isn't necessarily heavy, but by enabling Steam overlay, it allows it to be constantly watching your gameplay, waiting for you to hit the record button, which not great either. And then over here in interface, you can select if you want Steam to start when the computer does. I do not. I will launch Steam manually because a lot of times when I turn on my PC, I'm not even doing any gaming. I might just be doing some video editing that day or some productivity work. Now, if you are exclusively a controller player on PC, I recommend launching directly into big picture mode, which is their console-like experience where you use a controller to navigate the menus, and every game is optimized with controller drivers and it's just controller ready. Granted, you can use controllers by launching games directly in Steam standard, but big picture is a catch-all for any issues you might have. If you have a lower spec PC, you can enable because we're in Steam. Gabe Newell. If you have a lower spec PC, you can enable I did it again. Oops, I did it again. Let's see if we can get a threefer here. In the library tab, if you have an older spec PC, you can engage low performance mode, which will make a lighter footprint and a lighter application out of the Steam. Sound like a boomer. Out of the Steam that you guys are on all the time, you kids. Same thing if you have janky internet, you can engage low bandwidth mode over here, which won't update things like friend invites. You'll have to do all that manually, but it might save you if you're on like 3 megabytes a second or something. Now for me, since I have a separate NVMe, it's specifically for games, that 2 terabyte that's for modern games, and then my retro games from like emulation will be in that 4 terabyte SSD. Now Steam itself is installed on the C drive, my operating system drive. However, no games are going to be installed there. So as you install each game, it will ask you where you want to install it, and I'll be choosing the games SSD. However, if you want to start a Steam library folder over here, click on the plus icon, choose the drive you want. For me, it's this 2 terabyte that I'll be using for modern games, and hit add. And it's so simple because this is already labeled games and everything, so I'm just going to know, hey, that games go to the games place. That's their home. Something else I recommend you do periodically, especially during the early phases, you just built a new PC, you're installing new applications, new drivers, doing updates, getting everything configured. There can be some issues where all of a sudden your PC's crashing, or it's not booting, or it's running janky. So I recommend creating a couple of system restore points. In order to do this, press down the Windows key on your keyboard and type in restore. It's going to be create a restore point. You click on that and it says right here, create a restore point right now with the drivers that have system protection turned on. Click create and maybe do something memorable like the date, and then engaged XMP or changed fan profile or installed Steam launcher or something like that, and click create. It's going to take a second. It's going to create your restore point. I just realized that was behind my face. I should have been in a different camera, like that guy right there in the circle. That would have worked just fine. But you're going to click create right here, and you're going to type something in memorable, a change that you've just made. And what this is going to do for you, if your PC starts running kind of weird or janky, or God forbid it doesn't even post into Windows period, it just gets stuck in the motherboard BIOS menu, you will get a blue Windows error screen. And one of the options that will be available to you is to recover your PC from a previous restore point that you created, and it'll change back all the drivers and settings. Generally, you don't lose any personal files, so if you've downloaded anything or added anything, it'll keep all your personal files, but revert all your Windows and driver settings back to a previous time frame. Also, something else I like to do for visibility and also just quick productivity, being able to grab and drop things off my desktop and throw them into my editing software, is to right click, go to view, and make everything large icons. By default, they're medium, but on something like this 32-inch monitor, they look really tiny. I even have good vision and everything, and they just look small. And for somebody like myself that has very, very minimal stuff, icons and clutter on my desktop, the things I do have, I would like to be large. Now, Microsoft OneDrive is an absolute pain in the ass cheeks and probably the worst cloud backup storage solution I've ever seen in my life. Why? Because it's aggressively pushed on you. It's on by default in Windows 10, and Microsoft tooth and nail will fight you to turn it off. Now, you can completely uninstall it right here. It's about 243 megabytes, so small file, but I wouldn't recommend completely uninstalling it, just because if you pull open your file explorer, as you see over here in OneDrive Personal, I can drag and drop up to 5 gigabytes of stuff and stash it in here, back it up to the cloud. Maybe it's a sensitive document or something like that. Maybe I've cracked the Da Vinci Code and I want that information saved. But it causes a lot of issues because it will automatically, by default, try and back up everything on your desktop, everything in your documents, all your pictures and videos, which you're going to run out of space because it only gives you 5 gigabytes for free. And then what happens is, if you turn off OneDrive, everything on your desktop is going to disappear, and you're going to be like, what the hell just happened? I recommend local storage, i.e. hard drives and storage devices on your physical PC for a multitude of reasons. They're higher quality, you actually have them locally, so if the cloud goes down or whatever, or your internet takes a deuce on your chest, you still have all of your stuff that you need for editing and gaming and whatnot. Not to mention, another problem that OneDrive introduces is your picture thumbnails will not show up. 90% of the time, if it is backed up to the cloud, you won't actually get a preview like this. So if you have a ton of pictures and videos that you're trying to sort through or even just see, what am I looking at? You're not going to be able to see them, and you might also have a red X icon next to it, which is very disorienting, makes you think that there's something wrong with your PC. So how do we fix all this? I've just explained the problem. What are the solution? Well, open up OneDrive by typing in launch the app. It'll be down here in your application tray. Right click on it, go to settings, used to be down here. They've moved it up here for some reason. Go over here to backup, manage backup, unclick all three of these, which I've done a multitude of times and they re-click themselves. Not a big deal because it's actually not backing up. Also, if you have a blue clickable text underneath it that says stop backing up, I recommend clicking on that. If you manually want to drag something into your OneDrive folder, you can, but it won't automatically be pulling everything off your desktop and backing it up to the cloud. Also, make sure these boxes are unchecked where it's not automatically grabbing for information. If you are an active OneDrive user, then I would recommend checking this box so it automatically boots up on Windows, considering, like I mentioned, all of your shit, your desktop and everything. If it's on the OneDrive, it's not even going to show up on your terminal on your PC unless you have it launched. So just launch it on Windows. I hate OneDrive with an absolute passion. Now, if you've removed your files from OneDrive and you're storing all of your stuff locally, pictures and whatnot, and you're still not getting a thumbnail preview, you look at photos and it's just a blank gray icon. Another thing it can be is a setting inside of, go ahead and press the Windows key on your keyboard, File Explorer options over here. See, I'm learning that there's a webcam overlay right there and I've got to put the windows in the middle or else you can't see because I'm doing stuff over here. By default, this is set to quick access. I like when I open File Explorer for it to go to the This PC folder because that has all of your storage drives, that has your documents, your pictures, everything that's good in the world. So this PC. Over here in View, uncheck this box if it is selected. Always show icons, never thumbnails. Hit Apply. That should fix your issue. If it doesn't, click it on, hit apply, and then click it off and hit apply again. Kind of redundant and stupid, but it works like 90% of the time. And that way, when you have a picture or video inside of a folder, or maybe just sitting out loosely on your desktop, you can actually see what it is by getting a little thumbnail preview. Next up, let's put our tinfoil hats on. Big Brother is always watching and your Alexa device is spying on you. But in all seriousness, we're going to lock down some privacy settings. Come over here to your settings again, go to privacy, turn off all of these. I'll quickly explain what they do. This is selling your advertising information to Google and also third parties that they sell your information to. This won't make it to where you don't get ads. This isn't like an ad blocker or anything like that. It will just make it to where they're less personalized ads. So maybe you're getting ads for dog food and you don't even have a dog, you have a cat. But this does keep you a little bit more anonymous on the internet if that's what you're about. This one allows specific websites to collect local information on you. I don't want that. Let Windows track app launches. Windows then doesn't need to know what applications I'm using. Show me suggested content in the settings app. Absolutely not. That one's incredibly frustrating as well because you'll get pop-ups saying, hey, you might like Candy Crush. Do you want to install it? Now back in settings, we're going to come over here to personalization. You can, of course, set a screensaver and desktop over here. Does anybody still use screensavers? But as you notice, all of my windows have a nice little teal trim around them with small bezels, and all the text is teal, and then my Windows Start down here is teal and whatnot. That's under colors over here, and you can choose your favorite color and it will modify Windows, but you have to make sure that these boxes are checked as well, and that will take effect. I also strongly recommend using dark theme in anything that offers it. You can also download plugins for Chrome and other browsers that force dark theme on websites that don't support it. Not only is it easier on your eyes, I think it cosmetically looks a whole hell of a lot better. It's easier to read because the text is more contrasting. It actually saves battery life on things like laptops and cell phones that are on an internal battery because they don't have to illuminate the entire screen, just the text. It's just better all the way around. Now over here in Start, uncheck show suggestions on show suggestions. Now over here in Start, uncheck show suggestions occasionally in Start because it's just going to tell you programs that Windows wants you to install. Also, if you want to have custom themes that will completely change your icons, even change the sound effects of Windows, change your mouse cursor to be maybe like a skull and crossbones or something like that, you can download custom themes online and then you will basically upload them in here and you'll have them available. Next up, we're going to go into power options, hit your Windows key as we've been doing the entire time and type in power and sleep settings over here, and then go over here to additional power settings and it'll pop up this window right here. Shoot, we'll make it full screen. Wow, that's bright. So this may be hidden. Drop it out so you can see all the options available. Balanced is generally what's going to be defaulted. Then you have high performance and power saver. To my understanding, this doesn't actually affect the power of your desktops. However, laptops, when it is not plugged in, it will actually taper back on some of your processing power. High performance will give you the full regalia, the full beans. When you are plugged in, you can set a separate profile. If you go over here to change plan settings, it will tell you when you are on battery and then plugged in, and you can change those accordingly. Now, one thing I recommend if you are somebody that gets up and walks away from your computer quite frequently, just to set your monitors, your displays to turn off after about 5 minutes or so. The only caveat to this would be if you are a YouTuber or content creator and maybe you're shooting a video looking at your PC and it's in your background, your backdrop, and you don't want to have your displays turning off and blacking out, then you can basically crank this up to never or 1 hour. You're probably not doing a talking head commentary video for over an hour. I know we're really pushing it with this video though. Next up over here in updates and security, go to backup, and this is a cool little feature. If you plug in an an external hard drive. I have 2 of these bad boys. This is a 4 terabyte, I believe. It's not an SSD or NVMe or anything. It's just the traditional mechanical here. It's pretty slow. Actually, I'll show you right now. Let me plug this bad boy in. One of the USB 3.0 ports in the front of the tower over here. Bam, so I can select this external over here and then check this box for automatically backup files, and literally everything on your PC as you download it or change it is going to be backed up to that hard drive. Maybe you've got a ton of video footage or photos you're going to be editing in Photoshop or something. It's just good to have everything backed up on an external in case you have a catastrophic failure of your hard drive. With a lot of older hard drives, especially mechanical ones, you're going to need to right click and hit eject before you unplug them, or else it can cause damage to the drive. However, modern externals, you don't need to do this. I can literally go unplug this bad boy without any issues. Granted, you need to make sure it's obviously not reading or writing any data, or you will have some corrupted data if you unplug it. And the last thing, I think we're pretty much done. This is going to wrap it and tap it for us. Put the little cherry on top of the cream pie cake over here. Inside of File Explorer, if you click on View, you are going to have 3 boxes over here. I recommend that you check the bottom 2 over here. File name extensions, and then hidden items. So this can be good if you're in an editing software that only has compatibility with certain files. For example, DaVinci Resolve doesn't work with GIFs. I actually have to convert my little funny GIFs I have popping up as small MP4 clips, which is weird. Adobe Premiere Pro has no issues with GIFs. But also, you can make sure that when you download a program, it isn't malicious. Maybe you're trying to download a song or a picture that should just be a .jpeg or .png file type, and then you see it's a .exe, which means it's an actual program or application. You could be like, wow, this is supposed to be a picture of a kitten, but really it's malware ready to bend me over and take me to Pound Town. Not going to have it, not today. So that's very beneficial for a security standpoint, is you can see exactly what type of file it is, which is awesome. And as for hidden items over here, if something accidentally becomes hidden, it will be shown so you can still get to it instead of having to dig around through hidden folders, which is cool. Hopefully this video is beneficial for you if you just built a PC or just bought a PC to get it optimized. I know it was a lot to digest and a lot to swallow. That was a weird hand thing I just did there. But everything we did in this video, which hopefully I condensed down this footage because I've been recording for quite some time, and I will put timestamps for easy navigation down there in the description that will also be reflected on the chapter bar as well. I don't know why I'm saying this now at the end of the video. I'll probably put it in the intro as well. This will give you a very smooth experience with your PC, which is what you want. You just spent a lot of money and time building a PC. You don't want it to piss you off, basically, which technology can be an absolute blessing, or it can make you absolutely want to just twist your hair. If I did help you out, a like on the video is greatly appreciated. I'm not going to go hold you at gunpoint or anything like that, but it helps me to grow the channel and also gets this video promoted by the old Google algorithm, so it gets discovered by more people and can help them, and it's like wildfire, just spreads like herpes. Peace. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at Gamer Heaven. Check out Into the AM for some of the sickest looking and most comfortable cloth to ever grace my gaming giblets. If you don't want to be scorching your corneas with harmful blue light, check out Gamer Advantage, the only blue light glasses on the market that look sexy and actually work. If you're looking for a custom controller that'll blow the competition's tits back, AIM definitively has the best bang for buck or price to performance when it comes to Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch controllers. Nope, they don't do Switch, but they do gaming mice. I said doo-doo. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. If you need a quick laugh or blast of gamer adrenaline, check my short form videos out at TikTok. To get in touch with myself and the stallions and stallionettes of Gamer Heaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv where I go live every other leap year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding, starting June I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting Gamer Heaven, and I'll see you tomorrow because I upload daily, all the time, 60% of the time, sometimes, most of the time. Peace.